ancient times, Eastern philosophy has focused on the need to look inwards to resolve our human condition. If we look at European civilizations, for centuries they had to fight nature external and battle for survival against harsh weather conditions, so their minds were always turned outwards. This is why they have developed such mastery over the rules of physical nature, with incredible developments in industry, technology, and science, and were able to even send a man to the moon. The geography of the Eastern world was so good. We had fertile lands, clean water, and temperate conditions, which meant that we had the luxury to look inwards. And this is where we hit the jackpot. Before we make sense of the external world, why don't we find out who we are first of all? We have all heard of the saying, "Men, know thyself first." We turned our attention inwards to find out who the heck we are and what is our real nature. The spiritual master, the Maharishi Kapil, was successful in discerning our true nature. Before the time of Maharishi Kapil, there existed a materialistic philosophy. The Greek philosopher Democritus was a visitor to Bharat, and he learnt the materialistic principle of the atom and the void from Bharat. But Maharishi Kapil helped to shape Eastern philosophy by making the transition of looking inwards, and there he discovered magic. We often find that when we look inward, our minds are always rattling, with waves of thoughts and desires and emotions coming and going. To find our true nature, we must stop the mind rattling, and only then can we see our true nature. This is what the Bhagavad Gita also advocates, Sthita Prajna. Becoming of steady mind is the only way we can make spiritual progress. The exercise of holding the mind still and getting a glimpse of who we truly are is called the Sankhya Darshan. Maharishi Kapil experienced that he was not the body. This was not some intellectual exercise which you think about while drinking cups of coffee. It is a dramatic experience. We discover that we are not the body, but we also discover that we are not the mind. The mind keeps vacillating. I am not the body, and I am not what the mind tells me I am. Krishna also reminds us in the Bhagavad Gita that we are not the body or the mind. We are the Atman, which is eternal and permanent. Descartes, the famous philosopher, said, "I think, therefore I am." He believed, "I am what my mind tells me." Maharishi Kapil went a stage further, and he discovered that we are not even the intellect. What is the intellect? The intellect is the way we see things and understand the world. We put things into categories, and we get a handle on reality by putting things into boxes. The intellect is the determining faculty of the mind. I am not the body or the mind or the intellect, but I am also not the ego which holds the system together. The journey continues onwards. Who am I? Here we come face to face with Spirit or Atman. We are something dramatically different from what we think we are. We are not some creepy crawlies eking out our lives in a small and limited way. When you come across people who have successfully made this transition and know that they are the Spirit, the experience is so mind-blowing. It is completely life-transforming. The findings of Maharishi Kapil were codified by Maharishi Patanjali into his Yoga Sutra, or Ashtanga Yoga. He has developed a whole set of vocabulary to help us make this journey ourselves. The emphasis is not on believing, but in experiencing. When we think of the word religion, we always think it's to do with belief and faith. We have to follow a set prescription, and when we die, things will hopefully work out. However, Eastern philosophy is very different. It empowers us to resolve our human condition now and not wait until we die. Faith is not the key word. Faith is a good beginning, but we must take this faith to its conclusion, which is first-hand spiritual experience. All these prophets and saints have had this wonderful experience. Good for them, but it's no good for me. Let us all discover our true nature, our true dignity. Maharishi Kapil has thrown a challenge on the world stage. Here is an experiment to try on yourself to discover reality. Good, we all think. We'll just experiment and become enlightened. But there is a health warning. Raj Yoga is the most dynamic, but also the most difficult path. 1 in a million will even try it, and out of those, only 1 in a million will succeed. Why does it come with such a health warning? Before you close your eyes and meditate, your routine life must be controlled before you can even sit down to meditate. So what is the prerequisite? Yama and Niyama are a series of observances that we must master before we are even considered fit to sit down and meditate. What are these observances? They include Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Aparigraha, and Brahmacharya. What is Brahmacharya? Some gurus will say, oh, it means thinking of the universe as Brahman. But Brahmacharya actually means no lovey-dovey, not even in your dream. You can't even think about it. You have to be celibate through and through. Straight away, 99% of people disappear. Another discipline is Satya, truth. We shouldn't lie even by mistake. For example, it's so easy to say, see you tomorrow, but how do you know you will see that person tomorrow? You may not, and then it becomes a lie. You have to be fastidious. You have to be truthful to the core and celibate to the core. And this is why Raj Yoga is majestic. Yoga means to join up with your true nature, Yuj. There are dynamic individuals who have mastered Raj Yoga, people like Swami Vivekananda. He couldn't distinguish between male and female. He sees everyone as human beings. Vivekananda in America never followed the chivalry that was expected of men. He never opened doors for women or helped them into their carriages. He was asked, Swami, why don't you help me? He says, why do you need help? Are you disabled? This is true Brahmacharya. The second step is Niyam, and this also contains another set of disciplines, such as Soch, Santosh, and Tap. Then we get asana, which is where we actually sit down to meditate. We must sit straight with our backbone straight. When you droop, your majesty goes, and your spirit goes, so sit up straight. Then comes pranayam. Pranayam is not just breathing exercises. It is the way to link up with the life force which is driving your body. The closest you can get to your life force is your lungs, and there is something that makes your lungs move. The electrical power making that happen is the way you capture your life force, and you focus your attention on this life force. Just becoming one-pointed on the very thing driving your lungs, then slowly your body consciousness will start to go. If you succeed in this, you will get a glimpse that you are not the body. You will jump out of the body, become one-pointed on that. Then the process continues. The experiment presented here doesn't need a belief in a religion or a God. It is an experience on yourself. So try it out, and if it doesn't work, become an atheist. It is one of the most difficult things to try out. These disciplines are so severe that most people can't bear it. When you are told to be truthful, just by simple carelessness, we often say things we can't fulfill, like saying, see you tomorrow, but we don't. What you say, you must do, and what you think, you must say. The system must be joined up, and we don't do that. It is the necessary integrity to be truthful. But the moment you do this, the moment you speak your mind, you may lose a lot of friends very quickly. Satya and Brahmacharya will knock you out. They're killers. all the 10 disciplines and observances are prerequisites. Why did Maharishi Patanjali make it a prerequisite? The reason is to get a handle on your mind. You require this severe discipline in your routine life to get a handle on your mind. You have to ensure your system is well joined up, and you must have this tremendous discipline if we are to stand a possible chance of getting a handle on our minds. We are required to impose this discipline before we even start meditating. Even though this is a royal path, it comes with tremendous difficulty, and most people run away from this. Even if we can't handle it, we must recognize it for what it's worth. When Swami Vivekananda came to the West, he didn't have the concept of experiential religion. He gave this to them as a gift. He never wrote a book, he just gave free-flowing lectures. An American lady, Miss Waldo, sat down with shaky fingers to write down much of what he said. He is so powerful. Vivekananda read each verse of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. He would close his eyes and go into deep meditation, and Miss Waldo would sit and wait for him to come out of meditation, and she would write down what he said, what every verse means. He came out with his interpretation. Do have a look at Raja Yoga by Swami Vivekananda. He actually experimented every verse in our times, a genuine master of Raj Yoga. This man, when he came to London, was giving a lecture in Piccadilly to demonstrate meditation. He crossed his legs and went into meditation, but then he disappeared and he couldn't be woken up. They quickly brought in a photographer who took a picture of him, and he was able to hit the jackpot so fast. This rishi sitting in the deepest of meditations was not in the Himalayas, but in Piccadilly in London. If you succeed in the path, very few do. For the first time, you break free from the shackles of who you are, and you become a master. We have all heard of the Gayatri Mantra, but here you see what the Gayatri is all about. When you succeed, the body sensation disappears. You can't feel the air on your skin, the traffic outside, the noise disappears, and you feel as if you don't have a body. You are relieved from this idea that you are the body, and the mind goes higher and higher. You may see gods and goddesses, or a brilliant light, and first you are just observing the light, and then you realize that you are that light. Is it a fuzzy experience? No, it is much more brilliant and clearer than us sitting here. There is a tremendous intensity to this experience. It's not make-believe or a waffly idea. You experience yourself as the spirit, and it gives you true dignity. It is not ego-centered. You become free from this limited vision, which is wiped out forever. If you succeed, you become a prophet of humanity. The definition of a rishi is a seer, drish in Sanskrit. You come face to face with that reality. You can declare, I see, I experience the spirit. If you succeed, the discipline is very severe, but if you do, you become a prophet of humanity. But suppose you fail after years and years of trying. Still remember, you have led a very majestic life, even if you fail. But the majority of humanity doesn't want to try it and runs away. This is the reality. At worst, you have lived a very majestic life, even if you fail. But at best, you become a prophet of humanity, and this is the conclusion of Raj Yoga. We have to also remember, however, that Eastern philosophy is tremendously broad and magnanimous. For example, the Bhagavad Gita offers us different prescriptions on how to live a spiritual life in the midst of this materialistic world we all find ourselves in. There is tremendous freedom, and it encourages us to take a personalized approach depending on our temperament. Suppose we meet an old elderly lady who is devout. She can't be active in society like Swami Vivekananda. Perhaps she worships her chosen deity in her house and looks after her family. She is no less spiritual or no less practicing. Every individual will unfold spiritually in a way that suits their own character. You can't go and tell the whole world to follow a set prescription. The Bhagavad Gita encourages us all to progress spiritually and to take into account our own temperament and limitations. Once, Swami Vivekananda met a young man who was trying to focus on meditation, but he looked completely miserable as a result. Swami Vivekananda told him, "Forget meditation, go outside and play football, if that is what makes you feel invigorated and uplifted." This is true spirituality, not something that drags you down, but lifts you up. The Bhagavad Gita also never imposes one set prescription on everybody. Suppose you go to the doctor and he prescribes everyone the same medicine. It would be a real problem. Depending on the individual, you dish out the correct prescription. This marvelous freedom is given depending on different circumstances. The Bhagavad Gita is perhaps one of the most comprehensive tools which gives different approaches to make spiritual progress and reconciles them all, saying that although they appear different, they all lead to the same destination. Those who love the path of bhakti focus on the verses of the Gita which talk about devotion to Krishna. Those who are active by nature will focus on those verses which talk about doing good work in the world. So be it. But it doesn't stop there. We can mix and match different approaches in our own lives. We don't need to choose just one path. Suppose you get given only one food. You would get bored very quickly. We need some variety. Similarly, on our spiritual journey, we can mix and match a little of bhakti, a little of karma, a little of Raj Yoga, whatever suits our temperament and helps us to feel uplifted and spiritual in our day-to-day lives.